Welcome to Nathan's Armory. I'm Nathan. The other night, Bob Costas on Sunday Night Football decided to read some quotes from a gentleman named Jason Whitlock, who was discussing the tragedy of the football player who shot his girlfriend and then shot himself. And it was basically an editorial about why we need gun control in the United States. And Jason Whitlock said, when are we going to have a serious discussion about gun control in America? So I did a little research and thought I would give you a serious discussion about gun control. Alright, so Jason Whitlock says, our gun culture leads to violence. Loud music from a car causes confrontations which end in gunfire and young boys are left bloody or dead. Alright, so what he's speaking about there is, I think, road rage. He's talking about road rage and gun violence with road rage. So one of the things I looked at is I'm in the state of Texas, and 5 years ago in 2007, the governor signed a bill that the legislature passed, and they said basically anyone who's a law-abiding citizen and can purchase a firearm legally in the state of Texas can keep that weapon loaded and concealed, has to be concealed, in their vehicle. They don't have to take a CHL class like I've taken. You know, they're carrying it in their vehicle. They can't carry it on their person like I can. But guns in the cars, every law-abiding citizen in Texas. Millions upon millions of armed people have the ability to stick a loaded gun in their car in Texas as long as they don't have a criminal history and drive around loaded guns. Alright, so I think Jason Whitlock was suggesting that if you had that sort of scenario, that gun violence would become, would escalate and is awful. Well, I looked at the statistics, and this is off the Texas Department of Public Safety's website, and the murder rate has gone down every single year since that law passed in 2007 and has steadily declined. It was declining before that law was passed, but again, it's kept on declining every year. All right. One of the second things that was quoted from him was, handguns do not enhance our safety. All right, so Mr. Whitlock is stating that handguns don't help keep us safe. Well, looking at that, every police officer in this country, an agent, carries a handgun to stop criminals. Criminals carry handguns to help with their criminal activities. So I believe what he's saying is, through gun control, he wants to take away all the handguns that you and I have. Cops get to keep theirs. Of course, he doesn't want the criminals to have them either, but again, there's no way to take them from the criminals without the cops going and getting them from the criminals. He wants to take law-abiding citizens' handguns away through gun control because we don't need them. They don't keep us safe. Well, the murder rate in the United States peaked in 1992 and has been going down every year since 1992 consecutively. Drops every single year. Less murders, less violent crime. In 1987, Florida passed the first concealed handgun state. It was the first CHL state. Then Texas came along a year or two later, then more states and more states and more states. So now we've gone from pretty much almost no states with concealed handgun licenses to now in 2012 we have about 45 out of the 50 states have some sort of concealed handgun permits that they issue to private citizens. And since 92 on, since a couple of these states got on board with the CHLs and people started getting them in mass, the crime rates across the United States have steadily declined. Now, I don't know if those two things are connected, but according to Jason Whitlock, more people having and carrying guns should increase the crime rate, and as a problem, they should be taken away. Whereas it would appear, if you look at statistics, the more people who are having guns seems to be actually decreasing the crime rate. Now, there could be another cause to it. Maybe there's more cops. Maybe they've just thrown more people in prison. That could be part of it too. But again, more people have guns now, and more people legally carry guns now than did in 1992. By far, and it seems that the crime rates are dropping. All right, another thing is, gun control advocates, and I'm not sure if Jason Whitlock attests to this, but probably does. is the idea that if you sell more guns to people, then more gun violence will occur, that the two are connected. If you sell guns to me, a legal citizen, who can pass a background check and meet every law, FBI does a background check on me, all that jazz, and give me a gun, somehow me and all the millions of people who get guns then cause more violence to occur. Well, a little more research I've done, this was a couple months back, but when all through 2000 to 2008, the average number of background checks done by the FBI was between 7 and 8 million a year. That means 7 to 8 million people, or 7 to 8 million guns actually, were attempted to be purchased, and it's like a 1% denial rate. So we're talking 7 to 8 million guns sold per year on average from 2000 to 2008. All right, crime was declining during that period. Murder rates declining. All right, so our next president, President Obama came into office. People got scared, people went out and bought more guns. Instead of 8 million, it went to 10. Then it went to 12, then it went to 14. This year it looks like, or last year, I believe it was between 15 and 16 million guns. Almost double the number of guns sold from 5 years ago into law-abiding citizens' hands. And we look at the crime statistics, and they're still declining. They're still going down. So, again, legal citizens buying more and more guns doesn't seem to be raising the murder rate in any way. Murder rate's still going down. All right, then he said, that people with guns are more likely to embrace confrontation instead of avoid it. So the idea is that I have a gun, so I'm more likely to go out and pick a fight with someone. Or if somebody's picking a fight with me, I've got a gun, I'm going to escalate and keep fighting them, and eventually I get to pull my gun out and shoot them and all that. That is a great kind of theory, kind of what you think would happen, but actually in reality, the reverse happens. Even in the days of the Wild West, everyone was extremely polite to each other because everyone was armed. Nobody wanted to get into a fight. Really, not many people want to get into a fight unless they were very drunk or already had a very big grudge with someone. Nobody wanted to get into a fight with a stranger because it just ended in pain and bloodshed. Nobody just got beat up and won. Usually both parties got shot and died. So people who got into gunfights didn't get into very many because they didn't survive many of them. So people learned to be polite and nice. Detente is what they call it, where equal people with threat of arms are polite and courteous to each other. So again, embracing confrontation instead of avoiding it. I know that when I go through my concealed carry class and when I carry my firearm, if anyone tries to start any type of verbal abuse or fight with me, I don't escalate it in any way. Reason is if I argue back and things deteriorate and then I have to use lethal force, then I'm in court with witnesses saying I started the fight, and then I go to prison. So people who are concealed carry permit holders know that you don't want to antagonize your opponent. You want to, if you, God forbid, ever have someone attack you, want them to do it unprovoked, want a video camera and 2 nuns watching it who will say, he didn't do anything to that guy and he protected himself, that guy threatened his life, and he defended himself. That's what you want to have happen if it does happen. You don't want to sit there and have people saying, well, that guy was arguing with that guy and they started, then that guy pulled out a gun and shot him. Because when that happens, you get in front of a jury of 12 and you go to prison usually, or lose, more stuff than you care to because they say, well, you're partially to blame for it. Or let's say you don't get to go to prison, but they then take you to civil court and then they take all your stuff. So nobody wins in that situation. So again, an armed society is a polite society is an old phrase, and it rings true. All right, so also looked at a few things. So gun control advocates basically are disarmament advocates. The belief is that if you take everyone's guns away, then nobody will commit any violent acts. All right, and again, that if you were to be able to magically ride your unicorn and find a leprechaun and wish all the guns away, that would be true. The only problem is The criminals are still going to obtain guns, whether we sell them to private individuals who are law-abiding or not. The cops are still going to have guns because the criminals have guns. So basically what you have is basically what's going on down in Mexico. Juarez, Mexico is the murder capital of the world. Mexico does not allow private gun ownership by their citizens. How can one of their cities be the murder capital of the world with everyone getting shot? That's impossible because they don't allow people to have guns. Well, it turns out that they do get guns. They get guns imported from overseas with their drugs. They get AK-47s brought in from Russia and China, and the former Soviet bloc countries are importing the AKs. They're getting stolen weapons from the United States, shipped down across the border, bringing to and from across the border, and they're getting weapons from other countries too. So again, if we cut off the supply of all our guns and none of them crossed down south to the border, still, they would still get AKs. They would still import guns because it's a supply and demand issue. They have drug money. They want guns. They're going to be able to buy guns because people will supply them for money. Supply and demand is very simple. By the way, drugs are illegal, so obviously we can't have a drug problem in the United States. Oh, but wait, we do. And it's horrible, and it's killing people all the time. And in fact, that's pretty much a lot of what drives a lot of this violence is not the fact that people hold guns, but the fact that people are dealing, using, and trying to get drugs, and thus using guns to facilitate the trafficking of drugs and the obtaining of drugs. So when you go back to violence, there's always money behind it somewhere. Violence is almost always either money or it has something to do with a personal relationship going bad. But a lot of violence is all about the Benjamins,